Welcome back to Life and Art with Nicole, and I'm your host, Nicole. I am here today with my good friend, T-Ere Jefferson, and yeah, we have a really exciting episode, so stay tuned. Yeah, so you had a good drive all the way up here?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I really prefer taking the back roads versus the highway. And the main reason is that I have a phobia of being on the highway.
Really?
Yes, and that's because I feel like people neglect to remember that we are fragile little human beings in these metal compartment things that's going really fast on the highway, and at any moment we could crash.
Yeah.
And when you're riding down the highway, for me myself, I have like heightened anxiety just because, for one, I have to be on alert of what everyone else is doing on top of what I'm doing, and it's that reminder of that, like, we are going really fast in metal things and we could just collide at any moment. Just gives me too much anxiety. So I prefer to just ride on the back roads and have like that scenic view. And I just really enjoy just watching the trees and sometimes cows.
Okay.
It was like, oh, look at that cow. What are they doing? Eat that grass. And little horses. And just, even sometimes I imagine like living out there.
Yeah.
Like in that area with I don't know, just it being like calm and whatnot. So I just have my little thoughts, and it's just way more relaxing than the highway. But
Like, because you see all like the rural areas and stuff.
yeah, and I don't know, when you look at trees, do they seem to glow like leaves?
Well, it's interesting. Trees, I have been watching and observing trees, and yeah, I mean, there's something so magical about them. And I think we kind of take for granted that they're there. And I don't think we really understand what they are. I don't know. Was it you that sent me that video of the walking trees?
Probably.
Yeah. And it was something I saw on social media. You probably did send it to me, and it was like videos of people catching trees, actually uprooting themselves and walking.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen those videos.
Yeah, and it's like really interesting because, you'd said like, does it seem like the trees are glowing? And like, I think possibly, I mean, they probably are, but with like them uprooting themselves and walking, I mean, it would suggest that there's something inside of the trees maybe, or like in some cultures, they say that trees that do that, well, it's actually two things. It could be either the tree, just the spirit of the tree, it's a positive, benevolent spirit. And it's just like, okay, we like where we are now, we're going to stay. And they just stay where they are for so long. But then on the other hand, they say that it's actually a malevolent spirit that has entered into the trees. And yeah, especially the ones that get up and they like shake violently and they move. And it's really weird. Like, unless you've seen it with your own eyes, you're like, wait, what? Trees getting up and like uprooting themselves and moving? It just seems so far fetched. But then if you see movies like Lord of the Rings and I think maybe Harry Potter, they had those movies where the trees actually get up and move. And you have to wonder, where is that coming from? Where are they coming up with these ideas of trees walking,
I mean, that makes me think, when you say Lord of the Rings, I think about like just when you think about the trees that were, I forget what the name of where they were, where the trees were like the elder ancient trees, and they would come together. But, or even it makes me think even too about like Avatar and the relationship with trees there. But I think that like I don't say like ancestry, but like on an ancient level, just in our history, that trees, who's not to say that trees didn't do what happened in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Who say they didn't like interact with that? I mean, like you were saying, there's a whole system of things about this world that we just don't have a grasp on yet. And I don't know we don't know what happened truly in the past. We just know what we're being told. And when I see the trees and I see them glowing, the leaves, I feel like I'm seeing the life force.
Yeah.
Like the life energy. And I feel really appreciative that I'm able to see that. Because like I was telling you, like, I would go hug a tree.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I can feel that that for one, I have that appreciation for the earth and for the trees. And then I don't know, I can feel it back. And it's just something like that. It's like a reciprocal relationship with me and plants and trees. But I don't know, something I see out there when I look at them, I'm just like, oh man, it's just like glimmer.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think there is some sort of ancestral energy. If it's not the tree's own spirit, if it's not the tree's own spirit in the tree, then it's some kind of ancestral energy that's connecting the trees to everyone. Just like in Avatar, when they would, take their braid and then they would attach it to the tree and they would download the information. I think there is such a thing. I think we could do that. Maybe not with these trees, maybe in a more ancient time when there were bigger trees, because, I know you've seen those videos of like those big, huge mesas or those big, huge, what people think are, what do you call it? Mountaintops or, tabletop mountains. And in fact, they really are ancient, gigantic trees that were cut down that were like silica based. Well, silica is, in addition to carbon, silica is like a building block of life, essentially. Like every carbon based thing is made of silica as well. And silica also transmits energy. Has a crystalline structure to it, just like crystals. And, it transmits energy. So if those ancient trees were made of silica rather than carbon, then they had to have had some sort of energy in them or some sort of information that people could probably take their hair or their antennas, and like connect to the tree. I don't know. I just, because you saying how like they look like they're glowing, and I think that they probably are. It's probably some latent energy, life force energy in them.
I don't know, when you said you're talking about like downloading information into the trees and being able to retrieve that, I don't know, instantly I thought about crystals.
Yeah, you have a crystal in your hair. I just saw it. I just noticed. It's so cute.
Thank you. Amethyst.
Yeah.
It's my stone.
Yeah.
So it's my first stone. And just my stone in general. It was really calming for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, just made me think about that.
Yeah, crystals, because, I don't know where it was, probably on YouTube I watched this, but it was talking about how the world before oceans, and this is all, these are things that, obviously you and I talk about, because we go deep and we talk about really out there and really far-fetched kind of things, which I really love. But most people don't like to maybe stretch their mind in that sense. And so, but we do, you and I do. And, I've watched these videos on YouTube, and it was suggesting that there was a time before the oceans existed. Mm-hmm. And if you imagine what the world would be like, and this, this video kind of like, it described it and showed it, but everything was made of crystal. Mm. Yeah. There were like huge crystals everywhere. And the trees were crystalline or silica based. So everything had some sort of crystalline type of structure. And there were rivers though. So it wasn't like there was no water. There were rivers, but there were no oceans. There was no salt water, right? But then something happened, and then the floods came and created oceans. And that is when the atmosphere of the earth changed. And that's when we got like a sort of moss-like structure, which is kind of what these little teeny trees are. They're like little mini moss. If you think about it, compared to the big, huge, huge, huge trees, these are nothing. They're like shrubs. And then that's when grass kind of appeared. That's when all of the things that we now, consider to be normal appeared. But that was because the atmosphere changed. That was because there was now moisture in the air, and everything went from crystalline to now we've got like vegetation type of things, if that makes sense. So I don't know if this is real or not, but it makes sense to me, especially if we consider how old crystals are and how they're in all the caves all over the world. And they're almost as if they're part of the ancient structure of the earth, the pre-earth almost.
Sure. Mm-hmm. One thing, you know what? Because there's so many different possibilities of what could have been. And I love just having, like you said, being open-minded enough to explore the different possibilities and just I don't want to say accept them, but like, I don't know, just dive into them. But possibly, they all exist simultaneously. Every single idea that we have, because like we know, we're all in different dimensions,
Yeah.
multiple dimensions layered upon each other. And like what if what if a thought, just even a thought, just because we thought it, we make it exist.
Ooh,
Even if it
yeah.
doesn't exist here on this plane, we made something
Yeah.
exist somewhere else. So even if that didn't happen here, but it's a great possibility that it did, it'd be beautiful. I mean, I feel like the world has had so many changeovers throughout the millennial century. There's so many different things, and I don't know, like we're just like in the baby stage. It made me think. Ocha, shout out to Ocha. She always talks about the babies, us being babies.
Like infants, like on, or like like our consciousness is infant, or
Yes, well,
yeah, or bodies or whatever.
And plus, we go a lot. We talk a lot about people being. I call it emotionally immature, and he's like, we're babies, so
Yeah.
things like that. But we're in the, what. I want to say, what stage are we really in? Like,
Yeah.
we've been through so many different things. That I really, really wish that we knew about, instead of like, I don't know, it's fun to be like, oh, this could have been there, this could have happened, and this and that, but I want that true.
Right. I want to know. And that's, I think, what drives me to learn and research and read and watch and hear what other people have to say on the topic, because like, I feel like what we were taught in school, one, is just a fraction of the infinite possibilities of what exists. Right. And then second of all, like we're not being told anything new. Everything is a sort of repeat. If you think about all the movies are remakes of previous movies. They're all retelling of the same stories. And I get it. A lot of these stories are based on fables, which are more ancient stories and could possibly be even ancient history. But when they're reduced to myth, and we don't and then the people who are sort of controlling the flow of information are saying, oh no, that's not real, it couldn't have been real. It dilutes the ability for us to learn more, if that makes sense. And so you're right, like I want to know the truth. So I'm going to dig and look for it and research for it and find out what really happened here. And the more I've personally researched, the more I realize that our older societies had way more than we have now. And they like to, and our current society likes to think that we're at the top of where we are, but we're not. And the further you go back and the further you see, like they had flying cars. They had roads that could cross oceans. They had, they had levitating devices. They had, the type of technology that they had back then just completely decimates our Wi-Fi that we have here. They had a whole different level of Wi-Fi back then. And so which makes me think, like, what happened to us? What happened to us as a society? And just like you said, there have been so many changeovers, and every time we change over, how much of that information is lost? Like we already know that they're burning libraries. They've been burning libraries. The Library of Alexandria was burned down. That's the most famous. But less people know that the Library of Congress was burned twice. How much information was in in that library? How much was in the very first one, and then it burned, and then the second time around when it burned? And more libraries have been burning over the past at least 100 years. They've been burning down, and you have to wonder, well, so how much information is being lost with all of these burnings, and how much is being replaced with new information that may or may not be true,
And why?
And why?
Ding, ding, ding. Because that is the big one right there. Like, why are they doing all that? And we both know it's because of control. Like, they want to control us. They have been controlling us to whatever agenda. I'll say they, right?
I know, everyone's like, they, the ominous they.
You know what I mean. But the powers that be that orchestrate what's going on in our world, because you're very naive if you think that there isn't something being orchestrated behind the scenes. If you think it's something positive or negative, there is something happening. And knowledge has been taken away from us, our inheritable, like our born, the rights we were born with, the information that was given to us, our birthright,
Yeah.
our powers, and like I said, it's to control us. But I think that a lot of people are seeing a difference. So seeing that they aren't getting the information that they want. They aren't having the lives that they want, and they aren't getting that spiritual growth that they want, regardless if they see it or not. And I feel like as a collective, like a lot of people are yearning for that, even if they can't figure out what that is.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, to also piggyback off of the burning down of the past, like we have to look at all of these wildfires that have been happening over the past couple weeks, you know, what happened in Maui and what happened in Canada and what happened in, I think, France. There were some wildfires. And, you know, for the listener who's not watching this, I'm putting my air quotes because these are not happening naturally. And there's so much video evidence of these fires being transmitted, I should say, meaning they're being sort of beamed into existence. So if you are not familiar with what I'm talking about, please look into directed energy weapons because they exist and they've been existing for a long time. But you made a good point. The question is, why are they doing this? Well, you know, if we look at, let's say, the fires that are happening in Canada, the fires that are happening in Maui, you know, your first thought would be, well, who wants the land? Mm-hmm. But my thought is a little bit deeper than that. I'm thinking they're trying to erase history by doing this because obviously the ominous they, right? You know, people who have been talking about trying to start a new world order, or, you know, you look at, you know, groups like the World Economic Forum who've been talking about how we need to build back better and we need to create 15-minute cities and all of these things that they want to create new for this new society that they want us to go into. They have to obviously burn down the old society. And so that's that one level of causing fires, starting fires so that you can sort of displace the people that are living there. But on another level, I'm looking at it as in the same way that they've been burning down the libraries. And I'm like, there's something sacred about these places. It's not just some random land that they're burning down. There's got to be something powerful in these particular land places. Just like, you know, a lot of people understand that places like DC, places like Paris, big cities are built in a grid-like structure. Like exactly. And so a lot of these cities are built on ley lines. They know how to harness the energy. And then a lot of them are literally shaped exactly like a computer motherboard. Like if you look at the design of the city and you look at a computer motherboard in like a similar, like right next to each other, they look identical.
A lot of cities are designed in a symbolic
way,
structure
yeah,
to manifest certain types of energy.
Exactly. And so we know that different parts of the earth are on certain ley lines. We know that a lot of these cities are built in particular ways to harness the energy, just like you said. And then we also know that there's really important spiritual centers in different places. Just like, you know, I used to go to Sedona all the time, and I told you, you know, I would go up to the vortex up there, and there's an incredible, you feel it, you know, and you've been to places like that where you just feel spiritual energy. And my position on why these fires are being started in particular places like Maui, which is very sacred land to the Hawaiians, you know, and, you know, places like Canada. Well, Canada, I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but Canada is really ancient territory. And so there's just a lot of, we have to really think about this, you know.
Do you know that, I heard that they were making a lot of the cities that were burned were cities where they plan to make smart cities.
Yeah, the 15-minute cities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'd be really interesting to see like how these territories come out now.
Yeah.
What's really sad though is the response. I mean, like, well, okay, you think about it, like the response to the, let's say for one, the people of Hawaii.
Yeah.
They're a territory of the United States. Oh, but did you see what happened? Like,
Yeah.
they
Nothing, right?
the fires came and the roads were locked down, presumably. But I mean, that's what they're reporting. A lot of children, how many, like over 2,000 children are missing? Like, why is that? That should be like worldwide news.
Right.
Even after the hurricane, when they needed relief in, they had to do it themselves. Like, where was our government at? Where's the support? And also, I think, though, we as global citizens, I don't want to say Americans, but just as global citizens, but as Americans, we look at it and we go, oh man, that's messed up. Dang, why is this happening? And then we go about our business. Yeah. And those are our brothers and sisters. And we have to be real conscious about what we're doing. And I do think about it and I pray about it. I'm like, Lord, have mercy. But at the same time, I don't know how to say. I mean, to me, it's like a pattern. I'm like, welcome to the club. You've already been in there, but this is what they, quotations, do to everybody. Yeah. I think about what happened during Hurricane Katrina. Right. Yeah. I'm like, well, I mean, it sounds very similar to me.
Because didn't people who were there say that they heard explosions before the floods came in?
Then weren't people locked out? They weren't able. They had to walk. Yeah. They were shut out of certain places. People, all the stories about the levees. Just what happened afterwards, because people who were in the lower ward, the government came when I went down there to volunteer. One of the things I was helping with was the fact that we were trying to help people to gut out their homes because the government was coming in and was going to take their property if their homes weren't gutted out by a certain time frame, and they had no help. So we were volunteering to come in to try to help save their property, because it sounds like just the same thing in Hawaii. Yeah. They're trying to take up people's land. And so it sounds like a pattern. Yeah. And that's the really good thing about like studying history and watching what's going on, because when you see those patterns, then you're like, okay, that's just, I mean, clear, a lot of things are a sign, but that's a big sign. And it's kind of like rude, because why you keep trying to throw the same things at us, like we just gonna take it? Yeah. But we kind of are.
We kind of are, because, and this is what I had said in a previous episode, I was like, how much does the boot have to keep pressing down on us in order for us to push it back off? It's like we're ants and we're being squished by someone stepping on us. Seriously. And I think these organizations that are talking about making these changes and then implementing these changes by burning places down and displacing people with floods or hurricanes or whatever, because let's not pretend that they can't control the weather. I mean, at this point, everyone has access to the internet, right? Okay. Everyone should know what geoengineering is. It's been around since 1950. You know, we're coming on 70 years of this stuff being in existence. And so they have been able to manipulate and control the weather for a very long time. And so when suddenly we have these tornadoes in places that the temperature, the atmosphere doesn't, typically like produce that type of, weather, you have to say, oh, well, I wonder how that got caused. Or, when, we look at the sky we look at the sky and we see that it's not just like a regular gray cloud anymore. It's like a completely white overcast, like white clouded overcast with little vibrations in the clouds. Like, that's not normal. I remember what cumulonimbus clouds looked like. Now I don't know I barely see them anymore is what I'm trying to say. And so anyway, I digress. But yeah, they've been manipulating the weather for clearly nefarious purposes, clearly to displace people, cause fires, and a whole bunch of other things so that they can sort of rearrange the world the way they want to rearrange it and create their 15-minute cities, and this goes along with the change in age. Like, we are moving into the age of Aquarius. I've talked about it, and I talked about it in a couple previous episodes, and I'm going to dive deeper in my next episode, like later on, in my podcast. But the age of Aquarius, it's funny because you're an Aquarius, but, the age of Aquarius is all about technology and, AI and all that type of stuff. So they're trying to build these cities that sort of work with that new age. But I mean, I get it. I understand what they're trying to do, but maybe talk to us, the rest of us, and say, hey, everybody, it would be great if we all advanced in this type of way. Let's work together towards it. Instead, they're like, we don't care what the people have to say. We're going to burn them down, and take their land.
Girl, I don't trust them. I don't care what they got to say.
I know, right? At this point, it's like...
No negotiations.
Right.
We need a whole new, I don't know what we're going to do, but we need a whole new overhaul. And, I think one of the things, because we were talking about, people, I was talking earlier about, people starting to see, what's going on. But I think, what's really challenging for people is that, how you were talking about, things have just been changed so many times. They've been changed so much that we were born into this. We were indoctrinated into the way everything is. And so when and the people before us was born into this type of indoctrination. So we don't question it. It seems like we don't question well, why are we doing this way? And why are things this way? And I guess I just do this. But, for me, one of the things, I've always had that journey of wait, what's going on? But with a aha moment I had was when the realization came when I decided to not eat meat anymore. And that's what started that spark in me. Why are we doing anything the way that we do it? Who said that this was okay? Who said eat meat? I'm not saying if you choose to eat meat, do what you do. My own personal choice. But who said eat this food group? Who said do this? Who said wake up like this and you should think like this and everything, or go to school and work like this, and or marriage should be like this and relationships should be like this? We just gone with it. We never questioned it. So, and if you do question it, you get so many
ridiculed.
So many things come at you. So many judgments and whatnot. So that to me tells me hey, I might need a little I need to question that. And and I think a lot of people need to question, just even if it feels uncomfortable, just question why is the things the way they are? Especially when we see that there's so many problems going on, and we shouldn't just trust what's going on or what we hear in the first place.
Right.
So because of the fact that so many things have been changed and so many things have been doctored, and I just got to be really careful out here.
Yeah, you said the meat thing, and I had actually talked about this in a previous episode. And, we were basically talking about how, animals are our friends. They should be our friends, and we're eating them. It's really creepy if we look at it in that sense, And, I actually just had this conversation, I think it was yesterday, actually. And I was saying, oh, I know it was. Yeah, it was yesterday. Because I saw a video on Instagram, and it was some Asian culture. I don't know if this is normal or traditional for them, but it was street food. And the guy was boiling turtles. There was a pot full of turtles. And they were boiled, and I love turtles. Turtles are my very favorite animal. And when I saw that, I was so heartbroken because I was like, why are we eating turtles? I mean, cows and chickens and fish and turkeys aren't enough. Why are we eating?
If you eat meat, anything goes.
Yeah, I'm like frogs, turtles, snakes, chicken. I mean, rabbits, horses, dogs, cats. It doesn't make sense at this point. Yeah, it seriously does not make sense for us to be eating other life creatures like this, especially. Like it says in scripture, the meat in scripture is technically the fruit, the meat from the trees, like mango. When you open a mango up, that's meat inside the mango. The banana has meat. Every fruit has meat. And the animals it's not meat. It's actually flesh. Animals considered flesh, and humans are considered flesh, and fruit is considered meat. So if we look at it according to scripture, we're eating flesh, And so what you say, you say you stopped eating it. And I forget why you said you had like a spiritual kind of like realization, right? Or like your
I'm not
ancestor.
sure.
You say your ancestors kind
I
of.
feel like it. Well, I was in my apartment just doing my regular routine, whatever I was doing in there. And then all of a sudden, like I had this intense feeling to go outside and be like in nature, like be amongst the trees. There go those trees again. But I had like they were drawing me out there. But I had this feeling, and so I was like, stop what I'm doing. And I went out there, I listened to it. And when I went out there, I was amongst the trees and the wind was like blowing, and like I don't want to say I had this, I guess, influence. This really impactful thought came, and just randomly, it was like, stop eating the meat.
Wow.
And I had been eating meat prior to that. Having little feelings, but like, so it was so intense. It really made me just be like, I had to listen. Like I listened to that inner voice, that impactful thought that happened. And it started me also to think, but why? Like, because I had already been a vegetarian in the past. And I had decided to be a vegetarian as, I guess, my own personal protest and, I guess, stance against what's going on. I just really didn't like the way the meat factory was handling the slaughter the slaughter and torture of all these animals, and the fact that like when you consume tortured flesh, you also consuming all those
The adrenaline,
the toxins, the negativity that's associated, the fear, and then why we wonder why so many of us are wandering around with depression and anxiety and fear. And you're like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Maybe it's coming from where you eat, what you eat, and what you put into your body. Not maybe, it is. Yeah, and that's what's happening. And so. But moving forward, because I was a vegetarian. We're all human. We all go up and down through our journey. And I went back to eating meat. But now, fast forward to that moment I'm talking about when I'm out there with the trees and having this experience, and just thinking about it, it was a opportunity. It became more than just a stance on what's going on, because for one, we are the protectors of this earth, and God. I honor God, so I feel like I need to do what I need to do. But at the same time, like I just said, you have to be aware of what you are putting into your body, because we need to have discernment in this crazy world. We need to have that spiritual connection, and our bodies are antennas. And when we cloud it with the toxins that we've been indoctrinated to ingest, to put in, because so many things are coming at our body in so many different ways. So when we take on these things that were indoctrinated to us, they cloud our connection with God, our spiritual antenna. So therefore, it became a spiritual thing to me. Eating meat was just not just a protest. It became a part of my spiritual journey as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's so beautiful, because for me, when I had originally stopped eating meat, it was because of the slaughtering of the animals, and I was just, I mean, just thinking about that video just breaks my heart. But, then, like I'd said in my other guest episode, I said, my husband cooks meat. And it's, I tend to eat it. But, the past couple days or the past like week or so, just the smell of the meat burning, it smells like, it's nauseating to me, and it smells like burning flesh. I mean, yeah, we definitely have to be careful what we put in our bodies, and I'm definitely much more aware of the energy that we take in, from these, I mean, at the end of the day, food is energy, right? It literally gives our body fuel. And so if that fuel is negative or hurt in some type of way, or in pain or fear, we're going to take that energy in, and that fear and that pain is going to be our fuel. Right. And, it doesn't really fuel us very well. So we do have to take it from, the places where we're supposed to take it from, like the fruits and the nuts and the seeds and stuff. And that's enough. That is literally enough to sustain us. Mm-hmm. There are people who can live off of just breathing, like breatharians. Have you heard of them? I don't know if it's like a real, I mean, I don't know if like, It's definitely a real thing. I've definitely heard of him, but yeah, there are people who survive off of just water. I don't know how they do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, but I think they do it in some type of way.
Like,
maybe they're telling us
for 30 days. They did now.
You're right. And then they eat like a big then they eat a big meal. Right. But I mean, my point is that there are so many ways to survive than just eating like burned flesh. It sounds so gross.
And I mean, and I'm not technically all the way against eating meat, but I just feel that take what you need. Like the way that our ancestors, if they did it, like they just took what they needed.
And it was an offering too. Like they would kill the animal in a very humane type of way. They would ask for not really forgiveness, but they would say thank you. They would give thanks to the animal and to the earth for providing them with a meal for their family. Now we eat so gluttonously. We're so gluttonous and greedy about food now, and we have zero care about the fact that we're killing other life beings.
Right. Like, do you ever see the videos of the like cows crying?
Yeah.
Like they cried just on the way, not even at the slaughterhouse yet, just on the truck. Like they smell it, they sense it, they're intuitive.
Yeah.
And then like you think about it, so then like people kill the animal, like that was a whole life, and then people eat it, and then you ever see people don't finish their food on their plate and then throw it away. That's a whole animal, like that was its life was taken.
Yeah.
It was cut up into pieces. You're so disrespectful of its life. Not you, but just in general. But a person could be so disrespectful of his life that they don't even finish the whole thing and they just throw it in the trash like, I don't get out of here. I don't even care. Like,
oh my gosh.
it's so horrible.
And it just says so much about us as like a society. And this is not just for Americans. This is the whole world. The whole world is like this in some degree, you know? And it probably didn't used to. There might be some cultures, like very few now on earth, that still practice like giving thanks to the animal and doing that type of sacrificial rite, you know, of slaughtering the animal. It's probably the majority of the world now, at least the civilized world. I don't even know how much the world is uncivilized at this point, but the whole world is like this. So we're like, I mean, if you really think of the sheer scale of what do they say? How many billions of people are on Earth? 7 or 8 billion? 7 billion people are just consuming animals and throwing it away just like it's no big deal.
It's like a torture factory. Like humans are scary.
And that's literally what I was thinking yesterday when I saw the turtle. That's what I meant to say. After I watched the turtle video of the guy cooking the street turtle food or whatever, I said, no wonder why animals are afraid of us. No freaking wonder why animals run in fear when a human comes around. I don't think it used to be that way. You ever see pictures back in like the black and white days, like when they took black and white photos, and there would be a person next to a whole tiger and they were just chilling? You know, you see the paintings of these ancient kings and queens that would have tigers just walking, lions and leopards and stuff, like big, huge snakes and deer and all these other types of animals around them. And the animals weren't in fear. The humans weren't in fear. But now a deer, you see if a deer, you know, like walked up, first of all, it wouldn't. But if a human walked up to a deer would flee in terror.
Wait, did you ever see that video of the man out in the woods and he had pointed his gun, he saw a deer, like a little baby deer and like another deer, and they locked eyes, and he had his gun up, was like getting ready to shoot the deer, and the deer just locked eyes with him and then just ran up to him, up to the gun, like the barrel of it, like its head, and was just like, here, and the man was like, he just lowered his gun. Yeah, he was like, I can't kill you now.
Yeah.
Run up on me like this. And I don't know, I'm like, what was that deer thinking?
Yeah,
was he like,
wow.
Just didn't know? Or
was it like, I don't know, maybe the earth is kind of like an avatar. Awa has heard us. You know, all the animals help like defeat the baddies.
Hey, bro, don't, come on, man. You ain't no killer. You ain't gonna really do it. I mean, but dude with the gun seemed like he was a real killer, though.
Yeah, but then apparently maybe the spirit of the earth was just like, you know, operated through that little deer and was just like, what you gonna do? Like, no, dude.
I also saw a cat
Wow.
give a dolphin a kiss. That was
Yeah, I
really
mean,
cute.
oh, that's cute. I mean, the things that you see animals do, like it is super sweet. And the type of world that we could live in is just, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much possibility, or there maybe used to be, there used to be the way we were living was in so much harmony with everything. And we've come so far away from that. And I think that comes from, our education being dumbed down to the way it is. It comes from the destroying of history, the rewriting of history. It comes from people not knowing like anything about their ancestry. It comes from people not knowing anything about the history of the land, and I don't know. It's just, there's so much as to why I think we've come to the place that we're at. Also, I think that the ominous they have been in operation for such a long time. I don't think this is just like they just started these organizations like 100 years ago. I think we're talking like an ancient cult that's been doing this stuff.
One thing, so I love studying people. Like, that's part of my profession. I love just studying why do people do what they do? What makes people tick? What makes them make those choices? Why do they do these? Why? And that they studied us.
Yeah.
For many of years. Not just our physiology, but also our psyche, our spiritual self as well. And they know more. Like I said, we don't know that true. We don't have, we innately, we feel it. We have that, our God-given discernment. And that's what's gotten us to the point we are now. But we have to be aware too, like that'll be, I guess, taking our enemy, when you're taking them for granted, like you thinking that they're less than what they are.
Yeah.
Like, I know that we know that they make some crazy decisions, but at the same time, everything is calculated and planned out, and they've done it for a long time. I mean, we can see that with the patterns, but there's things about us that we just haven't figured out yet that they know,
have, yeah.
They've kept from us, and they still study.
Yeah.